Arrived for Thanksgiving, but Dad said, "You must have the wrong place." Stunned, I walked away. Soon after, my sister texted, "Don't take it personally. We had to keep you out." I replied, "Got it." She didn't end the call. She still believes paying bills earns her a spot. I stopped all payments, froze accounts. By dawn, 73 missed calls. No money, no family. The rain-slicked coastal highway stretched like a black ribbon under my tires, the Pacific Ocean churning gray and furious to my left. It was Christmas Eve, and I was driving into a storm, both the one lashing my windshield and the one brewing in my chest. I'm Emily Harper, 35, a corporate lawyer who spent the last decade clawing her way to the top of a cutthroat San Francisco firm. But tonight, I wasn't the polished attorney closing multi-million-dollar deals. I was a daughter, a sister, desperate to reclaim a family I'd lost to distance, time, and something I couldn't yet name. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my Audi, the hum of the engine drowned out by the howl of wind and the rhythmic slap of wipers. In the passenger seat, a leather satchel held legal documents I'd been reviewing for a case, my lifeline to sanity during the 12-hour drive from San Francisco to Seattle. In the trunk, carefully packed gifts and a homemade cranberry tart, crafted from my grandmother's recipe, represented my hope for reconciliation. I'd skipped a firm retreat in Hawaii for this, turned down a partner's dinner to chase a fleeting dream of family. But dreams, I was about to learn, can be deadly. The first sign of trouble came at dusk, just past the Oregon-Washington border. Headlights flared in my rearview mirror, too close, too fast. A black SUV, its grille gleaming like a predator's teeth, hugged my bumper. I tapped the accelerator, assuming they'd pass. They didn't. The road curved sharply along a cliff, the ocean hundreds of feet below, and my pulse quickened. "Come on, back off," I muttered, glancing at the mirror. The SUV surged closer, its high beams blinding me. Then, with a sickening lurch, it swerved, clipping my rear fender. My car fishtailed, tires screaming against wet asphalt. I yanked the wheel, fighting to keep from plunging into the void. The SUV roared past, its tinted windows hiding the driver, and vanished into the storm. My heart pounded as I pulled into a turnout, hands shaking so badly I could barely dial 911. And the operator's voice was calm, promising a patrol car, but the highway was remote and the storm was worsening. I sat there, rain hammering the roof, wondering if it was an accident or something worse. I should have turned back. Every instinct screamed it. But I was Emily Harper, the woman who never backed down, who'd faced down boardrooms and bullies without flinching. I'd driven 800 miles to surprise my mother, Victoria Langston, and my brother, Liam, at our family's waterfront mansion in Seattle. I'd spent weeks planning this Christmas, selecting a rare first edition Jane Austen novel for my mother, a woman who valued appearances above all, and a Rolex for Liam, the charming drifter who'd always been her favorite. I'd perfected Nana's cranberry tart, its buttery crust a labor of love, meant to bridge the gap between us. I'd sent $2,000, 0 cents, for what Victoria called a charity gala, assuming it was a family affair. I'd poured $150,000, 0 cents, into their lives over 5 years. $10,000, 0 cents for property taxes, $8,000, 0 cents for Liam's startup, $1,500, 0 cents monthly to Victoria, $1,000, 0 cents to Liam, never questioning their need. I was the dutiful daughter, the reliable sister, and I wasn't about to let a near miss on a highway stop me. The mansion loomed into view just after 8 p.m., its glass walls glowing against the Seattle skyline. Perched on a bluff overlooking Puget Sound, it was a monument to my mother's ambition as a real estate tycoon. Growing up, I'd navigated its marble halls, a teenager thrust into adulthood when my parents divorced at 16. My father, a hedge fund manager, fled to Miami with his mistress, leaving behind sporadic emails and a void I filled with responsibility. Victoria worked late, closing deals that built her empire, while I managed the household, paid bills, and shepherded Liam through school. He was 5 years younger, all charm and dimples, but his easy smile hid a knack for trouble. I took on part-time jobs, sacrificing sleep to keep us afloat, while Liam coasted on our mother's indulgence. After law school, I joined a top Seattle firm just 20 minutes from the mansion, clinging to weekly brunches that grew colder with each passing year. At 30, I moved to San Francisco for a lead attorney role, tripling my salary but fracturing what little family we had left. Victoria's support was a thin veneer. Liam's pride felt genuine, but their silence grew louder than their words. The driveway was a sea of unfamiliar cars: a Bentley, a Tesla, a sleek Porsche. None of them Victoria's understated Mercedes or Liam's beat up Jeep. I parked on the street, the storm soaking my coat as I gathered my satchel, the tart, and a tote of gifts. The mansion's holiday lights shimmered, more extravagant than I remembered, and laughter spilled from within, mingling with jazz and the clink of glasses. Through a window, I glimpsed a towering Christmas tree, its ornaments glinting like diamonds. My stomach fluttered with anticipation, but a nagging unease crept in. Victoria had mentioned a small gala on our last call. Her voice clipped when I pressed for details. Liam had texted, not called, asking for an extra $2,000. 0 cents for gala expenses. I'd sent it, assuming it was for family, not this lavish spectacle. I climbed the steps, balancing the tart's warmth against the chill, and rang the bell. The music dipped, footsteps approached, and I plastered on a smile, expecting Victoria's familiar frown or Liam's lazy grin. The door swung open, and there she was, my mother, Victoria Langston, resplendent in a black velvet gown, diamonds at her throat, a glass of champagne in hand. Her hair was freshly styled, her makeup flawless, but her eyes widened in alarm, not joy. Behind her, the foyer buzzed with strangers in tuxedos and couture, the dining room table set with crystal and gold. This wasn't a family gathering, it was a high society event, and I was an uninvited guest. Emily? Victoria's voice was sharp, her gaze darting over my snow-dusted coat, the tart, the gifts. What are you doing here? Mom, it's me, I said, confusion creeping in. I drove all day to surprise you and Liam. Merry Christmas. Her fingers tightened around the flute, and she stepped forward, blocking the doorway. I'm sorry, you must have the wrong house, she said loudly, her tone carrying to the guests behind her. A few heads turned, curious. I blinked, the words hitting like a slap. Mom, what? It's Emily. I called you this morning. You knew I was coming. Her expression hardened, eyes flicking nervously over her shoulder. There's no Emily here. Please leave. She began closing the door. Wait! I wedged my foot in the gap, the tart wobbling in my hands. I drove 800 miles. I brought gifts, the tart, Nana's recipe. What's going on? A man's voice called from inside. Victoria, who's at the door? The toast is starting. She glanced back, then leaned closer, her voice a hiss. This isn't a good time, Emily. You should have confirmed. Go. Confirmed? My voice rose, trembling. I told you I was coming. I sent money for this gala. The door paused, and for a moment I thought she'd relent. Then Liam appeared, polished in a tailored suit, his eyes widening in recognition, then narrowing in panic. Everything okay, Mom? He asked, avoiding my gaze. Just a mix-up, Victoria said, her charade unwavering. She got the wrong address. Liam, it's me, I pleaded, searching his face for the brother I'd raised, the one I'd sent $1,000 0 cents a month to for years. He shifted, uncomfortable, then placed a hand on Victoria's shoulder. Let's get back to our guests. Guests. Not family, not me. From the dining room, laughter erupted, and a woman's voice called, Liam, your fiancé's parents are asking for you. Fiancé? Since when did Liam have a fiancé? With what money was he hosting her parents? Victoria faced me again, dropping the pretense. You need to leave, Emily. You're embarrassing us. We have important people here, investors, partners. We'll talk tomorrow. Embarrassing? The word cut deep, my arms trembling under the weight of the tart and gifts. I'm your daughter. How is that embarrassing? A countdown began inside. 10, 9, 8. Guests preparing for a toast. Victoria's eyes were cold. Just go, please. Liam finally spoke, his voice low. You should have called first. 7, 6, 5. The tart slipped from my hands, shattering on the porch, crimson filling oozing into the snow. The gifts followed, the tote bursting open, the Jane Austen novel's cover soaking through. 4, 3, 2. Victoria pushed my foot away, slamming the door as cheers erupted inside. 1. I stood frozen, snowflakes melting in my hair, the warmth of the tart fading at my feet. The lights that had seemed welcoming now mocked me, illuminating a house that was no longer mine. I stumbled to my car, tears blurring my vision, and collapsed inside, sobs racking my body. The radio played Silent Night, its irony cruel. I'd spent years building a life, $150,000 0 cents sent to them, promotions earned, trials worn, only to be erased in an instant. Who were these strangers wearing my family's faces? What had I missed? My phone buzzed, Liam's name flashing. I answered, too raw to speak. Em? You still outside? His voice was hushed, hurried. I'm sorry about that. Mom said you canceled. She's hosting investors for her new real estate venture. Big deal, you know. Canceled? I croaked. I spoke to her this morning. I sent $2,000, 0 cents, for this gala. A pause. Look, she told everyone you weren't coming. It's a sensitive deal. Her partner, Richard, is here. Just don't be mad. Meet me for coffee tomorrow, okay? Richard? What venture? My mother was a real estate tycoon, not a startup hustler. Liam, I've been sending $1,500, 0 cents a month for the estate. Is she even paying taxes? Another pause, longer. She quit the firm last year. Look, this isn't the time. Coffee tomorrow, yeah? You and me. The casual dismissal broke something inside me. Fine, I said, numb. I understand. Great. You're the best, Em. Text me your hotel. Love you. He hung up, or so he thought. Rustling followed, then his voice. Not to me. Crisis averted, he said, laughing. She's headed to a hotel. Totally bought the coffee thing. A woman's voice, distant. She's so predictable. I know, right? Liam continued. Think sending money means she's still part of us, like we owe her a seat at the table? My blood ran cold. Another voice. Victoria's? She's got that fancy condo, those Europe trips. She's fine without us. Exactly, Liam said. Her money's funding the real stuff. Richard's deals, the offshore accounts. She's so desperate to be needed, she never questions it. Laughter, multiple voices, clinking glasses. Remember when she sent that $10,000, 0 cents for taxes? Victoria's voice, unmistakable, went straight to the Cayman account. She's pathetic. The call continued, their mockery slicing through years of trust. She brought a tart, Liam scoffed, like we're some Hallmark family. Always so needy, Victoria added, wanting to talk, to connect. Who has time for that? Her money doesn't talk. The line went dead, either from Liam noticing or the battery dying. I sat paralyzed, the phone heavy in my hand. The family I'd loved, supported, sacrificed for saw me as a cash machine, mocked my heart, my efforts. $150,000, 0 cents over 5 years, $10,000, 0 cents for taxes, $8,000, 0 cents for Liam's startup, $1,500, 0 cents monthly to Victoria, $1,000, 0 cents to Liam. I'd funded their lies, their luxury, their betrayal. I drove to the Riverside Inn, its neon sign a flicker of shelter in the storm. The clerk, a tired man with a Santa hat, raised an eyebrow. Rough night? Something like that, I said, unable to explain that I'd been cast out of my own life. Room 118 was stark. Beige walls, a floral bedspread, the hum of a faulty heater. I sat on the bed, still in my coat, replaying the night. The crash on the highway. Victoria's cold eyes, Liam's laughter, the tart in the snow. My laptop glowed as I connected to the motel's shaky Wi-Fi, desperation driving me to document everything. I opened my banking app, scrolling through transfers, $150,000, 0 cents. In 5 years, enough for a house, a dream, a life. Instead, it had bought me lies. Emails were next. Liam's messages followed a pattern: charm, a sob story, a request, gratitude, silence. One, accidentally forwarded 2 years ago, was a gut punch. She sent the $8,000, 0 cents for the startup, he'd written to Victoria. Covers the yacht deposit. Mentioned medical bills next month. Medical bills. I'd sent another $5,000, 0 cents, thinking he was sick. Victoria's emails were subtler. Always a crisis. Taxes, repairs, health scares, timed perfectly with her vacations to Aspen or Paris, posted on Instagram while I worked 80-hour weeks. My credit card statements revealed more. Authorized user cards meant for emergencies showed charges at Gucci, Rolex, private clubs. A separate card for Victoria's medication was maxed out at art galleries and spas. I'd been a fool, blind to their greed, my love weaponized against me. At 3 a.m., I opened a document and typed dates, amounts, lies. A record of betrayal, cold and factual. Then, with a trembling finger, I canceled every transfer, reported every card as stolen, severed every financial tie. Each click was a wound and a release, cutting the chains that had bound me to them. Dawn broke, gray and heavy. I checked out, ignoring the clerk's "Merry Christmas," and drove back to San Francisco. My phone exploded with texts. Liam, "What the hell, Em? My cards declined." Victoria, "Fix this now, you ungrateful child." I silenced them, their desperation a hollow echo of my own. At a rest stop, I called my bank, reporting potential fraud. The representative was brisk. "We'll freeze all transactions to those accounts. Fraud team will follow up." I closed payment apps, canceled Liam's sublease on my Seattle condo, and blocked their numbers. Each step rebuilt a piece of me, brick by brick. And back in my condo, the city skyline glittering beyond my windows, I stood before my Christmas tree, its lights mocking my solitude. But it wasn't solitude, it was freedom. I'd lost a family, but I'd gained a truth. The crash, the rejection, the betrayal, they weren't the end. They were the beginning. Who was Emily Harper without them? I was about to find out. And as I sipped coffee, staring at the encrypted files I'd copied from Victoria's safe, during a visit last year, one question burned. What were they hiding that was worth trying to kill me for? The Riverside Inn's neon sign flickered like a dying heartbeat as I stood in the motel parking lot. The dawn of Christmas morning painting the Seattle sky in bruised purples and grays. My breath fogged in the frigid air, each exhale a reminder that I was still here, still standing, despite the wreckage of last night. I'm Emily Harper, 35, a corporate lawyer who'd just survived a car crash, a family betrayal, and the gut punch realization that the people I loved most had been bleeding me dry for years. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my coat pocket, texts from my mother, Victoria Langston, and my brother Liam, their words escalating from confusion to rage. I ignored them. My focus on the encrypted files I'd copied from Victoria's safe 6 months ago, now burning a hole in my laptop's hard drive. Those files held answers: why my family had turned on me, why someone had tried to run me off a highway, why my life was unraveling faster than I could hold it together. But answers, I was learning, came with a price. I slid into my Audi, the leather seats cold against my thighs, and opened my banking app. The screen glowed with the evidence of my naivety. $150,000, 0 cents sent to Victoria and Liam over 5 years, $10,000, 0 cents for property taxes, $8,000, 0 cents for Liam's startup. $1,500, 0 cents monthly to Victoria, $1,000, 0 cents to Liam. Every transfer was a lie, a brick in the wall of their deception. Last night, I'd canceled them all, reported their credit cards as stolen, and sent a cold email terminating support. Their response was immediate and vicious. Liam's latest text read, "You're screwing us over on Christmas. Fix this now." Victoria's was a knife. "This is unforgivable, Emily. You'll regret this." I deleted them, my fingers steadied despite the tremor in my chest. The motel clerk, still in his Santa hat, waved as I pulled onto the highway, but his cheer couldn't touch the ice forming around my heart. I wasn't driving back to San Francisco yet. I had one stop to make. A place where I might find the truth, or at least a piece of it. Pike Place Market was a ghost town at 6 a.m., its stalls shuttered, the air sharp with salt and fish. Yesterday I'd stopped here for tart ingredients, my heart heavy with nostalgia for a family that no longer existed. Now, I parked near a coffee stand, its lone barista brewing for early risers. I needed caffeine and clarity. My satchel held my laptop and a burner phone I'd bought at a gas station, an instinct born from the SUV ambush on the coastal highway. That crash wasn't random. His driver's precision, the tinted windows, the way they vanished into the storm screamed intent. Someone wanted me silenced, and I was betting it tied to Victoria's real estate venture. Liam had let slip last night. I sipped black coffee, bitter as my mood, and opened my laptop. The encrypted files stared back, their password a taunt. I'd tried everything, birthdays, addresses, Nana's maiden name, but nothing worked. Yet something Liam said echoed. Richard's deals, the offshore accounts. Richard. Victoria's mysterious partner. Who was he, and what was worth killing for? The barista, a 20-something with a nose ring, eyed me curiously. "You okay, lady? You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a smile, closing my laptop. "Just a long night." She nodded, sliding a cinnamon roll my way. "On the house. Merry Christmas." The gesture stung, a reminder of the warmth I'd craved from my family, now replaced by strangers' kindness. I thanked her and stepped outside, the market's cobblestones slick under my boots. Seattle's skyline loomed, its space needle piercing the clouds, a city I'd once called home. Landmarks flashed by as I walked, the ferry terminal where Liam and I had eaten ice cream as kids, the park where Victoria had taught me to ride a bike. Memories of a family that felt real, now tainted by their laughter last night. She's so desperate to be needed, she never questions it. I stopped, my breath catching. They'd mocked my love, my trust, my tart. Nana's recipe, a symbol of connection, they'd trampled. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. My burner phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Meet me at Olympic National Forest, mile marker 42, noon. Come alone. I know about Richard." My heart lurched. The forest was hours away, a sprawling wilderness of pines and mist, the perfect place for an ambush or answers. I typed, "Who is this?" No reply. The message could be a trap, but it was also a lead, and I was running out of options. I glanced at my Audi, its fender still dented from the crash, and made a choice. I'd go, but not unprepared. I drove to a sporting goods store just opening, buying a hunting knife, pepper spray, and a GPS tracker. The clerk, a grizzled man with a beard, raised an eyebrow. "Hiking in this weather?" I nodded, pocketing the knife. Something like that. If someone was coming for me, I'd be ready. The drive to Olympic National Forest was a blur of rain and adrenaline. The highway wound through cliffs and evergreens, the storm easing but the air heavy with foreboding. Mile marker 42 was a gravel pullout, a trailhead disappearing into dense woods. I parked, the tracker clipped to my belt, the knife in my boot. The forest was silent, save for the drip of rain on needles. I waited, scanning the trees, my pulse a drumbeat. At 12:15, a figure emerged. A man, mid-40s, in a black parka, his face obscured by a hood. "Emily Harper." His voice was low, cautious. I gripped the pepper spray. "Who are you?" He stepped closer, revealing sharp cheekbones and eyes that didn't blink. Call me, David. I worked for Richard. You're in danger. Before I could respond, a crack echoed. A gunshot splintering bark inches from my head. I dove behind a tree, David cursing as he ducked. Footsteps crashed through the underbrush, a shadow moving fast. Run! David shouted, but I was already sprinting, branches clawing my face. The shooter was close, their breath audible, a second shot grazing my sleeve. He zigzagged, heart pounding, until I reached a ravine, sliding down its muddy slope to hide beneath an overhang. The footsteps stopped, then retreated. Silence returned, but my body shook, blood mixing with mud on my hands. David found me an hour later, his parka torn. They're gone. For now. He offered a hand, but I stood on my own, knife drawn. Who's they? What does Richard want? David's jaw tightened. Richard Kane, your mother's silent partner. They're laundering millions through her real estate deals. You're a loose end. My stomach dropped. The $150,000 0 cents I'd sent? Was it all dirty money? Why tell me? I demanded. He hesitated. Because I'm next if you go down. Meet me tomorrow, Seattle docks, midnight. I'll bring proof. He vanished into the trees before I could argue. I stumbled back to my car, the forest's silence deafening. The shooter's aim was too precise for a warning. They'd be back. I drove to a new motel, the Harborview, paying cash to avoid a paper trail. My condo's security app had pinged last night. Someone had ransacked it, leaving a note. Stop digging, or you're next. I checked the footage now, my blood chilling, a masked figure, gloved, rifling my desk, pausing to stare at the camera, as if they knew I was watching. I forwarded the video to a private investigator I'd hired last month, a precaution after noticing odd charges on my account. Her reply was immediate. This is serious, Emily. Lay low. I'm digging into Kane. I showered, the hot water doing little to thaw the fear in my bones. My laptop beckoned, and I reopened the encrypted files, trying Richard Kane as the password. Access denied, but another file, unencrypted, caught my eye. A scanned document, my signature on an offshore account I'd never seen. Liam's work, no doubt. He'd forged my name, tying me to their crimes. If the feds found this, I'd be in prison, not a courtroom. My phone lit up with a voicemail from Victoria, her voice venomous. Emily, you've humiliated me. My card was declined at the gala. Fix this, or I'll make sure everyone knows what a vindictive daughter you are. I deleted it, but the next was Liam, his tone pleading. I'm sorry about last night. I didn't mean what you heard. Meet me for coffee, please. We're family. Family. The word tasted like ash. I texted back, no more lies. I know about Richard Kane. His reply was instant. Don't do this, Em. You'll destroy us all. The threat was clear, but so was my resolve. I emailed my firm's senior partner, Margaret Chen, attaching the forged document and a summary of last night's events. I need your advice, I wrote. This involves my family and potential fraud. Margaret was my mentor, the one who championed my rise. If anyone could help, it was her. The gala was tonight. Victoria's charity event at the mansion. I shouldn't have gone. Not after the forest, not with a hitman on my tail. But I needed evidence, and the gala was my chance. I dressed in a sleek black gown from my condo's closet, retrieved via a back entrance to avoid detection. The knife stayed in my purse, the tracker on my wrist. The mansion was a fortress of light, valets parking Bentleys and Lamborghinis. I slipped in with a group of guests, my name absent from the list, but my face familiar enough to pass. Inside, chandeliers gleamed, waiters weaving with champagne. Victoria stood on a dais, radiant, toasting her philanthropy. Liam was at her side, his fiancé, a blonde in emeralds clinging to his arm. I stayed in the shadows, scanning for Richard Kane. A man matched David's description. Silver hair, shark-like smile, whispering to a senator. My pulse raced. Was he the one who'd sent the SUV? The shooter? A waiter offered me wine, and I sipped. The taste bitter, chemical. My throat tightened as I spat it into a napkin, my vision blurring. Poison. I stumbled to a bathroom, forcing myself to vomit, sweat beading my forehead. Someone had known I'd come. I splashed water on my face, checking my reflection. Pale, but alive. Back in the ballroom, a projector flickered, Victoria's speech interrupted by a hack. My bank records flashed on screen, transfers to Victoria and Liam labeled family traitor. Gasps rippled through the crowd, eyes turning to me. Victoria's face was stone, but Liam's was panic, his fiancée whispering furiously. I fled, humiliation burning my cheeks, but not before grabbing a USB drive from a table. Someone's careless mistake? Or a plant? I drove to my firm's office, the city a blur of Christmas lights. The building was dark, save for the security guard who nodded me through. I needed Margaret's counsel, but her office was empty. The file room held our client records, including Victoria's old contracts. I searched, finding a folder labeled Kane Ventures. Inside, invoices, shell companies, my forged signature again. A noise startled me. A click, then a whiff of smoke. The door slammed shut, locked from outside. Flames licked the walls, the sprinklers dead. I coughed, panic rising, and grabbed a chair, smashing a window. Glass shattered, cold air rushing in as I climbed out, scraping my arms. The folder burned, but I'd snapped photos with my phone. Sirens wailed as I ran. The fire, no accident. Someone wanted those records. And me, gone. I checked into another motel, my body aching, my mind racing. Margaret called at 2 a.m., her voice tense. "Emily, I saw your email. Come to my house. Now." I trusted her, but David's warning echoed, "You're a loose end." I drove to her Queen Anne mansion, the folders, photos on my phone. Margaret greeted me in a robe, her face grim. "Show me everything." I did, detailing the crash, the forest, the fire. Her eyes darkened. "Richard Kane is my client, Emily. I advised Victoria's deals." My heart stopped. My mentor, my ally, was part of this. "Why didn't you tell me?" I whispered. She sighed. "I thought I could protect you, but you've gone too far." She reached for her phone, but I was faster, grabbing my purse and running. Her voice followed. "Emily, stop! You're making this worse." I drove aimlessly, the city a maze of betrayal. My phone pinged. A text from David. "Docks, midnight." Kane's files. I arrived at the waterfront, the air thick with salt and diesel. David waited by a warehouse, a USB drive in hand. "Kane's laundering for a cartel," he said, handing it over. "Your money's in their accounts. They'll kill to keep it quiet." A gunshot cut him off, blood blooming on his chest. I screamed, diving behind crates as bullets flew. David's body slumped, the USB in my pocket. I ran, tires screeching as a black SUV, the black USV, gave chase. I swerved through alleys, losing them in the city's veins, my breath ragged. The USB was my lifeline, but it was also a death sentence. I hid in a 24-hour diner, the USB burning against my skin. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes, slid me coffee. "You look like you're running from something, hun." I nodded, unable to speak. My phone showed 47 missed calls. Victoria, Liam, Margaret, unknowns. Liam's latest voicemail was a plea. "Em, I'm sorry. I forged your signature. I didn't know it'd go this far. Meet me, please." I deleted it, but doubt crept in. Was he tracked like me? I opened my laptop, the USB revealing accounts, wire transfers, my name on everything. Victoria's taxes funded a cartel's front. Liam's startup was a shell. I'd been their pawn, their scapegoat. Investors, led by Kane, now threatened a $10.00 lawsuit claiming I'd stolen their funds. The feds would believe them, not me. I volunteered at a Seattle shelter that morning, needing to feel human. I served turkey to homeless families, donated $5,000, 0 cents to fraud victims, the amount I'd sent Victoria last Christmas. A woman, Mrs. Chen, 92, watched me with sharp eyes. "Lost your family?" she asked. "Found they weren't worth keeping," I admitted. She patted my hand. "You'll survive. The good ones always do." Her words anchored me, a lifeline in the storm. Months later, April's rain soaked Chicago, where I'd relocated under a new name, I was walking downtown when I saw him, Liam, older, less polished, staring at a bookstore window. He turned, shock flashing across his face. M? God, what are the odds? He stepped forward, arms open. I stepped back. Liam, my voice was steel. You look good, he said, eyeing my tailored coat. I am good. Silence stretched, his charm faltering. About what happened, he began. It's done. I cut him off. Mom asks about you, he lied. The spa failed. She sold the house. I felt nothing, not even satisfaction. Life's hard for everyone, I said, turning away. He called after me. Family's forever, Em. I faced him, calm. Real family is. Ours was a lie. I walked away, his voice fading. That night, I shared the story with my chosen family, Clara, my neighbor, colleagues turned friends, shelter volunteers. They listened, no demands, just care. Clara squeezed my hand. You lost a lie, but you found yourself. I nodded, tears falling. The USB was with the feds now, Kane's empire crumbling. Victoria and Liam facing charges. I was free, not just from them, but for me. The files had exposed a cartel, saved lives, and cleared my name. I'd won, not by revenge, but by rebuilding. As dessert arrived, I smiled, the weight gone. Sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find what matters.